Are you always worried about what people think? And has that been preventing you from carving the career and forging the career path that you really desire? If so, it could be a lack of confidence. So what is confidence? I'm going to offer a very simple definition of confidence. It's not going to come from the dictionary, but it's a word, it's a definition of confidence that will help you to overcome it. Confidence is the stuff that turns thoughts into actions. So courage might be needed to first take the initial actions, and a strong will is needed to persist. But confidence really is the most important factor because it first turns our thoughts into judgments about our own capabilities, and then it transforms them into actions. Confidence is a belief in your own success, which then turns your thoughts into actions. And then when you take action, you have more confidence in when you succeed. So it really is a cumulative process, a cycle that you go through with hard work, with success and failure. Confidence occurs when the self-perception, so the perception you have about yourself that you're unable to do something, is trumped by your achievements. So confidence is very linked to action. It's linked to doing. It's linked to having the courage to initiate action and the strong will to persist. So one of the essential ingredients to confidence is action. It is the belief that you will be successful at doing something. It is not letting your doubts consume you. It is getting outside of your comfort zone and taking action that you wouldn't normally take. It's about hard work and consistency. It's about not giving up. Confidence is just a memory. It is a memory of all of your successes having exceeded your failures. So the secret is to take action and to observe your successes and to observe your failures and take enough action so that the memory of the successes far exceeds the memory of your failure. To me, all the issues of confidence really breaks down into three broad categories. The first one is how others see us. And the second one is how we see others. And the third one is how we see ourselves. In the first category, in terms of how we see others, when I first started my career, I was in academia, and I was always in the life sciences department, in the faculty of science, in that field. And as my career progressed and as I was going further into academia, into my master's and my PhD, I was always involved in events, and I was always invited to panel discussions and events for other graduate students as well. And it was always around women in STEM fields. And STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So women in STEM was a really hot topic because it's always been well known that the STEM fields in academia have historically been dominated by men. And the conversation around women in science, women in STEM, was always around how it was always more competitive for women, how women had faced a lot more lack of confidence compared to men, how it was harder for women to have equal pay, how men regarded women in terms of whether or not they were promoted and the conditions around their promotion, and whether or not they were successful at gaining faculty or tenure track positions. So there was always a conversation around confidence. There was always a conversation around how women navigated around a male-dominated world, especially if women were practicing science or thought about going into science. And so the conversation was always about how can we raise our profile as women? How can we make sure that we can be competitive compared to men? How can we level the playing field? Those were always the conversations. So it comes back to this category of how we see others. And oftentimes, because of the conversations we've been having, the language we've been using about women having a disadvantage, women needing to group or band together to ensure that we have the support we need because we lack that support compared to our male counterparts. And oftentimes when you really look at the truth of that situation, it comes down to the way we see other people. And sometimes when we lack confidence, it's because we make an assumption that other people think of us a certain way. And it may not be, like the example I'm giving is about women in science, but take another example where if it's you in a situation where you feel like you're worried about how other people think of you, or you're in a situation where you feel that you lack confidence, and because you lack confidence, you have to always be concerned about how others see you. then the thing is to get to the truth of that. Is your assumption true? Are they really seeing you the way you think that they're seeing you? So on to the second broad category of how we see others. And this isn't about our judgments about other people. It's not about how we judge other people in terms of their successes. What this is oftentimes when we lack confidence, it's because we see other people and we choose the people we look at, and they are the ideal versions of who we quote unquote should be if we were to go down that career trajectory. Let me give you an example. And going back to my example of women in science, women in STEM fields. And when women in academia, they find themselves lacking confidence, they find themselves worrying about how the powers that be think about them, often what happens is the comparison is to the four founding fathers of science, for example, like Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein. And the comparison is like how they see others is the successful, ideal scientists out there, the ones who are having all the publications, the ones that are having all the successes, all the promotions given to them, all the academic opportunities. The way that we see others is that they are the image of the ideal scientist. So look at the way you're looking at it. Look at who are you comparing yourself to? Is it the ideal version of who you feel you should be if you were to have success going down your current career path? And is that a fair comparison? Because if you're comparing your beginnings to someone else's middle, or you're comparing your beginnings to someone else's end, then it's not an apples to apples comparison. So how we see others really affects our confidence. It is not that you don't want to, it's not about your passing judgment on other people, but you want to create and to have a productive view on other people, that one that will empower you, one that will inspire you, not one that's intimidating or causes fear in yourself in terms of taking that next career step. The last category, and this is perhaps the most important one, it is how we see ourselves. So when I was going through academia and I was going through my master's degree and then finally to my PhD, I made a decision that this was going to be the last step of my academic route. I didn't want to have another degree beyond my PhD, and so I knew this was going to be my last degree. But during the whole time I was in my PhD, they say that the PhD is the highest degree that any university or college could grant. So I knew that I was like in the top 5% or the top 1% in terms of education in the academic world. But the whole time, I always felt that I didn't belong here. I always felt this imposter syndrome, like someday someone's gonna discover me and they're gonna discover that I don't belong here, and then I'm just gonna be exposed. And this was an underlying fear of mine, that even though I was in a PhD program, if I looked at other people, I felt like I wasn't competitive enough. I wasn't publishing enough. I wasn't publishing in the best journals out there. And so I was always worried that some authority who had the power to determine my career or my next promotion or my next step was going to say, okay, and expose me and say that I really don't belong here. And that was always this fear I had. So how we see ourselves is really the fundamental piece in terms of gaining confidence, because how we see ourselves really is determined by the stories that you believe about yourself. So we are meaning-making machines. We're always assigning meanings to our achievements. We assign meanings to our failures as well. So this is something that you have to get clear on, is what are the stories that you've been believing about your career path so far? What are the stories that you've been believing about your achievements? And what are the stories that you've been believing about your failures? And are they true? Are they really true, the stories that you've been believing? If they are true, if they're not true, then what else could be true? If you find that they are true, then find evidence. If you're feeling that, well, they are true, then find evidence to say, how true are they? And is everything you believe about your story really a fact of it? Or is it just the way you're seeing yourself? Right? So be the scientist, and look for proof, look for evidence of your past, of your career path that shows whether or not what you've been believing is true. and ask yourself, what else can be true? What else is true about myself? So getting the facts and getting real about how you see yourself and finding better ways, finding inspiring ways, more productive ways of how you see yourself could be the way, could be the breakthrough of having the confidence you need to move forward in your career. Have you been searching for that next step in your career and you want it to be a huge success? Have you been searching for what that next career or that first career is for you and you're not finding quite what you're looking for? I have good news for you. A career is not something that you can just find or that you just fall into. A career is built. It is built with intention. So if you want to find out more what that means, I have an intensive for you. It is a career makeover. It is going to give you the step-by-step guidelines on building your career with intention. And if you want to find out more, go to careerrevisionist.com/intensive. That's careerrevisionist.com/intensive. And I'll include the link below as well. So just click on that link and watch the video. I have a video there for you where I will tell you the secret to building that fulfilling career with intention. I'll tell you the secret ingredient that it takes to build the career that you've been looking for. If you enjoyed my content, give me a like and remember to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so that you can get notifications each time I upload a new video. There are new videos every week, twice a week, so hit the subscribe button, hit that bell as well, and I'll look forward to hanging out with you in my next video.